All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to welcome you to another episode of We Create Music TV. I am your host, Vaughan, and today we have my man, music creator and educator, Louric.
Yo, what's going on, good people?
Brother, welcome to the show. Greatly appreciate you being here, man, to kind of just share your experiences, your knowledge, and to just kind of, just impart to us, man. Just, do what you do.
Man, well, I'm definitely honored to be here, and it's been dope just seeing the growth just of your brand and you as an individual, as a creator yourself. So I'm happy for you, man.
Man, I appreciate it, brother. I mean, we've known each other for a long time. So, I mean, now everybody else gets to know, Louric Oshay, and to find out who you are, what you do, and what you're about. So, man, if you could just start off just talking about your, your musical journey.
A journey, yeah. I think with a lot of people, it started at a young age. I grew up watching The Box. Some of y'all out there might not know what that is, but that was before MTV too. That's how we used to see music videos. So we would call in, or I wouldn't call in because I would get in trouble for that. But me and my cousin would sit around all day waiting for somebody to call in and hopefully play the video that we want to see. And I just remember at a very young age seeing artists on stage and saying to myself, that's what I want to do. I want to be a rapper. But as I grew up, to be honest, I was ashamed to tell people that. Man, people are gonna laugh at me and look at me crazy if I say at career day I want to be a rapper. But that is what I wanted to do. And so I'll probably say about 14 or 15 years old is where I started taking it seriously. Long story short, I just got put out of school. That was kind of a life-changing moment for me. So I started growing in my faith and my relationship with the Lord, and I actually started as a Christian rapper. So back when I was 14 or 15, all the way through college, I exclusively did Christian hip-hop. So I started as an artist first.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know that, but, not everybody else know that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And so it's been an interesting journey just to see how the passion hasn't changed, the skill set or the gifting hasn't changed, but the platforms in which I use it has. So I was just talking to a friend of mine, Christy, last night, just about kind of telling a similar story. So I felt like last night was an impromptu practice, for this live feed. And so when I moved to Nashville, so I came to Nashville, Tennessee, which is where I'm based now, in '05 to go to school for audio engineering. So when I was in a rap group in high school and college, we had some big shows for some big Christian artists, open up for Cross Movement, Out of Eden, Virtue. And people will come up to us after shows like, oh man, we gotta get you out in the studio. Let's just change a few things. Let's do blah, blah, blah. I'm like, we ain't changing nothing.
Pause.
Yeah, it was like, what you mean change? So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to college next year. I'm gonna learn how to do all this stuff. We're gonna start our own label, our own studio, take over the world, whatever. But when I finished undergrad, it was like I knew a little bit of radio, I knew TV, I knew music, but I didn't feel confident walking up to somebody, giving them a card, saying, hey, contact me for your next single. It was like, nah, I need to learn a lot more. And that's what brought me to Nashville. So I went to audio engineering school. So I've wanted to do this since the 8th grade. I was, 13? I just had a birthday, 38. So for 25 years, this has been the consistent kind of drive, passion, interest for me. And yeah, so just while I was in school learning engineering, I kind of picked up beat making. Essentially as a means to an end. It was like, you know what? I need to practice my mixing so I can be better than everybody else in my class, but I don't have anything to practice on. So like, you know what? I'm gonna start making my own beats just so I can learn how to mix. Right. And then just through trial and error, I kind of gradually went from that sucks to that doesn't suck as bad to that sucks, but only a little bit, and
Yeah.
gradually getting to the point where it's like, hey, all right, I know I got some heat. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
So that's my journey on the creation side as far as being a music
Mm.
creator.
Yeah. I think the reality is that, I mean, in the beginning, man, we all suck.
Yeah,
I think that's I can go back and listen to my very first beats and still be like, trash. It's trash.
dude.
Like, oh, okay,
I,
maybe this one got potential. Nah, it's trash. It's trash.
I dude, I felt so bad because I found some old beat CDs, and then
Mm.
it's kind of like that time. Remember, I had long locks for a
Yeah.
while,
Yep.
and it's like that time when you find your first pictures of when you started growing locks, and you thought you was sexy back then. You look back and you see them little inchworms in your head, and you like, yo,
Yeah. Yo.
I thought I was killing it, man. I'm like, y'all let me walk out the house like that. That's how I feel when I listen to it. Kind of like,
Yep.
yo, even when I thought I was like starting to cross that line, when I listen back to it, it's like
Mm-hmm.
definitely wasn't ready. And for me, it was frustrating because when I was in a Christian rap group, my brother made all the beats. So
Mm.
I started getting my hand in production in a sense of like a Diddy style, or
Mhm.
if we want to go old school, Sylvia Robinson that produced The Message and
Yeah.
Rapper's Delight.
Yeah.
She didn't play any of those instruments, but she orchestrated it. She
Right.
arranged it. She
That's right.
said, do this, do that. So that's kind of how I would do during practice. While I'm writing my rhymes, I'd be like, hey, man, can you make it stop right there? Can you add this sound?
Mhm.
But I sucked at making beats so much so that I gave him my keyboard. My mom bought me this new, probably like $200 keyboard for Christmas. I tried a few. I was like, you know what? Here, man, you use it, man. Like it'll be more beneficial.
Right.
But his older beats, I mean, he was killing it back in the day, on a Motif, MTV Music Generator, the little Yamaha keyboard. He was killing it. So, everybody has their own journey, you know what I'm saying? So that wasn't my time, back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, look, I completely understand that, brother. We all have a certain time when we realize, is this really the path that I want to go in and pursue, or is it really not? And I think sometimes even when you're in the game for a long time, you still kind of debate that within yourself to go, dang, is this really what I should be doing? Because I even have that, I'm not the greatest producer in the world, but I mean, if I was, I would be crazy rich. But I still struggle at some point to go, man, is this what I'm really supposed to be doing?
Dude, you're not the only one, man. Yeah, you're not the only one.
No,
Yeah, go ahead,
look,
man.
I know, no, because I know people in the industry currently, they still battle with that same type of thought
Yeah.
process. Like, wow, like I suck. And these people got major placement with major
Yeah,
artists,
Grammys
and they
platinum
still,
record.
that's
Yeah.
right. And they still kind of, and I think that's important for anybody to learn, is that even if you are at the level where you feel you make it, there are going to be times when you still kind of struggle, and you're going to kind of have to realize and kind of deal with that and say, and to kind of push through it no matter what, to pursue your dream, because we know this industry will pick you up, it will chew you up, it'll spit you out, and you got to have tough skin. If you got very light skin, you're not gonna make it too much
Yeah.
in this industry.
Yeah.
So now go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was going to say I just had someone, an industry figure that I know and respect, and well vetted and experienced in the industry. Someone that we both know. Pretty much just told me like, hey man, I think your production could be a lot stronger. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, and as I'm hearing that, of course, there's a lot of different ways you could react. I could have been a childish, what you mean? Man, you just don't know what you're talking about, man. My stuff is John Blaze, I could have been that,
Right.
or it could have been, well, dang, well, so much for this. Or it could have been, kind of where actual response was like, oh, all right, man, I feel you. Okay. So my mind is like, well, I said, hey, so we'll definitely have to follow up on this conversation because now that you're saying it, like, I want to know, let's break it down. Like, boom, I sent you 10 beats. All right, let's break it down. What could have been stronger? Is it drum selection? Is it melody? I know it's not mix, because I be killing mixes. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm dope at mixing. So I know it's not that. Yeah, I said it. Yeah.
That's right. You stated, brother.
It's funny because that's what I always wanted to do. Like the beat making just came about as a means to an end, and then I started liking it. But it's like, yo, if the day come where it's like, yo, your beats is trash, that's okay. I'm still gonna mix songs, and like I'm still gonna be in the room. I'm still gonna be on the team. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, your mixes be straight on point,
man.
So mixes on point. I mean, that's what you went to school for. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you're operating. Even though you're doing, the beat production and you were doing the artistry, you still are operating in what you really went to school for, which was audio engineering, right? So,
correct.
If somebody was to come to tell me that my beats were trash, okay. I mean, maybe I didn't go to school for beat making. I went to school for organizational leadership and development. So now if you tell me
and you are definitely using those skills, now, man, like I see it.
If you tell me that I can't train, okay, now then we got a problem, right? So that's because that's what my gift is in. That's what I truly operate in. So if you was to tell me that, and I think that's important for people to understand, is that people need to operate where they're really, really talented and really strong. And I think really people try to take on way too much. Oh, I could do this. Oh, I could do that. Oh, I could be a model. Or I could be a photographer. Or I could be, a host. I could be, and it's like, first, you really can't be all. Well, you could probably be all of those, but in reality, you're not going to be a master. It's like the phrase, a jack of all trades, a master of none. Right? See, I'm a master at training, but I'm not a master at beat making. Yeah.
See, but I'm glad you said that, because I think sometimes some people can take that out of context, right? Like sometimes people can use that to discourage people that are multi-talented. Like there are some people that can do multiple things at a very high level, right? And it's unless they're asking you for help, or unless you see somewhere where they're clearly dropping the ball, it's not really your place to tell somebody else what they can and can't do. You know what I'm saying? Now, if it's a thing where it's like, oh, well, you're not doing good at it, then sometimes you do need that nudge to be like, hey, man, I really see you excelling, in this particular area. And that's the thing, too. It's a difference between quitting and changing your mind. Like, I think we all have experienced that, like something where you gave up just because it was hard and you didn't push through, versus, you know what? For example, rapping. I didn't quit rapping. I'm a dope rapper. I'm dope with the pen game. I've had some nice experiences. I just changed my mind. It wasn't like, oh man, I can't make it. It was like, you know what? I enjoy this, but I want to focus on this more, But, I mean, honestly, rapping was the thing, no matter how beats go. Rapping is the thing where it's like, kind of like Kanye, can't tell me nothing. You know what I'm saying? Seriously, I'm like, yo, don't. And I know we're going to get into it later. But when I was teaching at the high school, I had multiple students that would like try to battle me. And it's just like, that ain't what you want, I
remember you telling me that too.
It would happen.
Like they would try to have like actual real battles.
Yeah, I mean, and for me, it was fun because I had that relationship with them, And in all honesty, I won't say like I never lost a battle, but I won't say it wasn't a few close ones. Like it was a couple of close ones where I'm like, man, you really tried to get me. You know what I'm saying? I had to dig in my bag to pull some old school stuff out.
Look, that's because they went home and practiced and was like, you know what, I'm gonna get to teach. I'm gonna get Mr. Oshay today.
Dude, I had this one kid, Curtis, man. He was persistent, man. I mean, I'm talking about he would come back multiple times. And I'm like, but I love that persistence and that resiliency, because even as adults, we have to display that all the time.
All the
in
time.
Work, in family, in creation. It's like, okay, like for example, I sent somebody 10 beats recently. I feel really good about them. You only pick 2 of them. So it's like, so I could be like, dang, for real? You wasn't rocking with this one? Hey, but you was rocking with 2 of them. So it's like,
and honestly, I think I'm gonna come back to the high school thing in just a moment, but I think that's critically important too, is that people get discouraged when you send a whole bunch of beats and they only pick 1 or 2, and it's like, well, wait a minute, all these beats were fire, but they may not realize that at this particular moment, those ones that they did not pick may not be ones that they just don't like. It may not be ones that fit the current project, the current mode, or the direction that they're going in. So they may come back to them later. And then
that's true.
I think something that you said is the response. And I when I was teaching in corporate America, I think that's what people didn't understand, right? So, I taught 7 Habits of Highly Effective People for, many, many years. And one of the things that we talk about in that course is, being reactionary and understanding that we have a stimulus and then we have a response. But in that space is our freedom to choose our actual actions that we're going to take. And I think in that millisecond, people have to really realize, how am I going to respond to this? So I'll give you an example. So there was a guy when I was in the Army. I don't know, most people don't know I was in the military. But I remember when I was in the Army, there was this guy who was being disciplined for something he did, probably smoking weed or something. I don't even remember what it was, but it was something. And so there's 2 ways you can handle this situation. And I've learned, because I was young, I got in a fair amount of trouble in the Army, but I've learned that however you respond back to your first sergeant is going to be a good indication on the level of punishment that he dishes out to you, right? And so if you were respectful, if you took accountability, if you, didn't push blame onto others, if you was just, straight up with them, the severity of the punishment was very minimal. But if you lied to him, if you try to con your way out of it, you try to blame others, then it was the highest level. It was the highest level you was going to get. Article 15, 45 days, right? It was going to be the highest. And I remember this guy when he got in trouble. And we're all outside. And you can hear him in an argument with the first sergeant. And all of a sudden, the first sergeant, you hear the first sergeant was like, what the, you doing? You peeing on my, he peed on the first sergeant's desk. Bruh, see, and so, how you respond to certain things, and granted he was kicked out of the military, but how you respond to things also is an important part of a person's trajectory. That really goes back to a person's mentality. I love how you said, how when that person gave you feedback about your beats, you didn't go, oh, that's whatever, dude, that's just your own opinion, or, oh, I'm gonna give up. No, you was trying to seek constructive criticism out of it. And I think if a lot of people had that, that'll take them a lot further today.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to go back to high school.
Okay.
Well, not you in high school, but
right.
Yeah.
I would not go back to high school.
Right,
maybe college.
Me either.
College for sure, but not high school.
Okay, so you moved from the DMV. I mean, you didn't even tell people you're from DMV.
Oh yeah.
Like how you not say that?
Man, I don't forget. Yo, my people back home forgive me every day. So yes, I am a Nashville-based producer, music creator, but the DMV raised me. So born in DC, raised in Prince George's County, Maryland, and then went to college in Philadelphia and then Nashville. So that's kind of like my geographical timeline. But that's right. So yeah.
Look, I'm a DMV too. So born in Baltimore, raised in Virginia. You know what I'm saying? So, but got relatives in Prince George's County. But okay, so you end up moving from you went to Philly.
Right, went to Philly for undergrad, and then once I graduated undergrad, I went to Nashville to go back to school, and just never left 15 years later.
Right. You fell in love with the city, of course. I see.
Do you know what? It's a funny story how I end up staying down here. It was never the plan. Like, I actually had potential opportunities back in Philly, you know what I'm saying, with some artists and you know, independent Christian companies up there. So the plan
Okay.
the whole time was go down here for 9 months, finish my school, go back to Philly. Because I was really
Oh, okay.
plugged in Philly. I was plugged in with my church community. I was
Mm-hmm.
plugged in on the Christian hip hop scene. So that was the
Mm-hmm.
plan. When I moved down here and I went to school, basically a financial thing came up. So even though I had finished school, I hadn't received my diploma yet, hadn't officially graduated till like a
Mm-hmm.
year later. It was a whole nother year before
Whoa.
I was even able to pay my balance. Right. So I felt like
Right.
that year kept me here. Then summer of, was it 2006? I think summer of 2006.
Mm-hmm.
I had an accident. I wrecked my car. Now, the reason why that matters is because at the time, I had an internship at Toby Mac's studio. If
Oh,
anybody
okay.
doesn't know, Toby Mac is like one of the hugest like Christian artists
Mm-hmm.
like alive. So I was interning at his studio. So it was a room there for Toby Mac, for the Grits, for David and
Hey, the
Nicole
grits.
C. Mullen. Yeah.
Yep.
Um, and so all of this was going on in his one building. But when I
Mm.
wrecked my car, it was like I couldn't get out there for my internship. So that was another thing that I felt like, all right, well, I can't go back now because I'm gonna feel like a failure, you know. And so it was the little things that kept me here, and then eventually, you know, within like a few years, I was like, you know what, this is home. I'm staying. I'm like, I like it. I like the cost of living. I like how it's close to everything. You know, like what some people don't understand, Nashville is not like down south. Nashville is not the dirty south. Nashville is mid south. You know what I'm saying? But they're about
Mm-hmm.
they're about like five or six like major cities and states that you can get to within like a couple of hours. I can get
Yeah. Oh,
to
yeah.
Memphis, Knoxville, Atlanta, Lexington, Kentucky. I can get to like all of these places within the same amount of time. So I like
Right.
that. Um, so that's why I ended up staying. Initially, it was because of setbacks, and then finally, I just said, "Okay, this is an intentional choice. I'm going to stay right now and make it work."
Mm-hmm. Hey, you know what? I don't blame you. I mean, it's been a really good place for you because not only did you get into, you know, audio engineering, but you ended up teaching at high school.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk. So how did that come about? Talk about
Yeah.
that.
So that was never the plan. I was not an education major in undergrad, but I had worked with youth since
Mm-hmm.
I was 15. So majority of my experience has been working with kids, whether it was youth leadership team. In undergrad, I also had I was wanting to get smart tutors, so I did tutoring at an after school program. I've done summer camps, you know, all of that stuff. So a lot of my experience has been, centered in that. Um, so the way the teaching thing came about, the summer 2012, I had been working at a call center. And forgive me if I look off camera. It's like the words are in the air somewhere. And I'm just trying to grab them and organize my thoughts. But
And no, it's all good.
yeah, but so I was working at this call center. And even before that, I worked at Target. And that's a whole nother story about my Nashville experience as far as, yeah, we can get into that later as far as doing what you got to do until you can do what you want to do. But
Mm.
yeah, a friend of mine encouraged me with that when I was teaching at the summer camp. And so every summer, Target and then later on the call center, they would let me go do the summer camp. I would take 2 weeks off. It would be one paid, I would save up my leave time. So I would get paid 1 week, and then the camp would compensate me the next week, whatever my job was paying me. Um, so this particular summer, 2012, this was going to be the second summer that I went for the whole summer. So 6 weeks instead of two. The year before, They let me do it. It was no problem. It was like, man, I'm just taking leave. I know I'm not getting paid for it. Whatever. It was all good. So 2012 came around, and all this connects to how I started teaching. 2012 came around. I was ready to do the same thing. Also, I had let the lease on my apartment expire because I was like, you know what? I'm about to be gone for like a month and a half. I want to move anyway. I'm not going to pay rent for a month, so I'm going to just find another place. Long story short, new supervisor at work came to me and was like, what if we can't let you go? I'm like, what you mean?
Wait
like,
a minute.
We already got this plan. I'm like, well, I'm like, bro, I just let my lease expire. I can't stay here because I don't have nowhere to live. And so basically he said, what if we can't let you go? I'm like, well, I mean, I'm gonna have to find another job. So that's what happened. So I quit my job with the option to return. They were like, hey, you leaving on good terms. It's all good. You can come back if it don't work out, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, in my mind, that whole summer, I'm like, I do not want to go back. I do not want to. Because every time I'm at summer camp teaching music, I'm in my element. And then the thought of, I'm going to have to leave this and go back at some point would bring me down. So long story short, so that whole summer, I didn't even have time to look for a job. I underestimated how tired I would be on the weekends once the children went home. Right. So a friend of mine, shout out to former NFL player and coach Renee Stewart. He's kind of one of a handful of men that have spoken truth into me at different seasons of my life. So he drops his kids off at camp, and he's telling me about a new position his wife got. He was like, yo, Sonia, she's the new principal, at this school. Man, they got the $1 million studio. They got this, they got that. So, of course, my eyes are like wide open, like, what? Bro, I got to get in there. Like, man, say something to her, man. Like, bro, this is what I do. And he like, I know, man, I'm going to say something to her, yada, yada, yada. So at the end of the week, she came and picked up her kids. And so we were talking, and long story short, spare all the details. We set up an interview. I sent my resume, set up an interview, came in person, did the interview in Nashville. The camp is in Kentucky. So at the end of camp, did the interview. Later on that night, she emailed me like, hey, I'm going to recommend you for the job. And the rest is history. So it came about by being, one, consistent in what I'm passionate about, right? Like, she would not even have thought about, excuse me real quick. She would not even have thought about or considered hiring me for that. I had no formal teaching education or background, but she knew what I did, what I'm saying, like for 5 or 6 years at this summer. So she was able to see me not only teach the technical, but also how I interacted with the young men at camp. And so I think for me, that's how it happened. I think, one, it was being faithful in what you're good at and building relationships. Like my mom always said, it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Who you know.
So yeah, that's how the whole teaching thing came about. I was like a fish out of water, man. I grew up K through 12 in private Christian school. And then all of a sudden I'm teaching at this inner city public high school. It was culture shock at first, to be honest.
In what ways?
In a lot of ways. Well, let me first say the ways in which it wasn't culture shock. Okay. Being around my people, because it was school like 95% African American. That wasn't the culture shock part. Like, there was comfort in that. It was like, oh man, I love being around my people. Like, that was easy. The culture shock was seeing how things operated differently, like seeing how classroom management was. Like, I was like, man, Man, we would never do that when I was in school, you know. Even just dealing with some of the behavior at the time, I personally I personally wasn't used to. So that's just a little bit how it was how it was culture shock for me.
Yeah, that's wow. I'm coming it through in that type of environment from where you were to where you went into. I can definitely see how that was a a culture shock, man. Like
Big time.
is big time difference. So big time difference. But I do want to go back to something that you said, and so pretty much this is my interpretation of what you said.
Okay.
Who you text? Look, I'm be like, who you texting? No, stop. And see,
Man,
I see that.
you know,
And so look, I can do that because I know you. But
right. Yeah, I'm actually, because I overheard what you were saying in the background, I was making sure that I actually sent the link out to a few of the groups and stuff I'm in.
Yeah. I was talking to my tech guy over there.
Yeah, I forgot to put it in my podcast group notes, so I'm about to do that right now on the Faders Up podcast page on Facebook.
Oh yeah,
But
y'all make sure. So we got to talk about that. We'll get into faders. We'll get into
for sure,
into
for
faders
sure.
up here in just a moment. But I think something that you said that was important was that. So this is my interpretation. You were doing what you were doing. You were out there, at the summer camp, doing the music classes that you were doing, and that's what you were doing, right? And you had no idea that other people were watching you do what you do and taking note. And I think people don't really realize that, because one of the things that we talk about in corporate America, and of course, I still work in corporate America today, is the fact that you are always interviewing.
Always interviewing for the next job.
Always, in my role as one of the leaders within our organization, I'm always looking at people because I'm always interviewing them, right? And so when I get positions that are open and I'm filling those positions and interviewing people, I remember a whole bunch of other stuff. Oh, I remember the time you was over there and then you got mad and threw stuff, and like
I
you
used
were
to tell students the
always
same
interviewing.
thing. I used to tell them the same thing. I had a kid come to me one time, and I would tell him, I'm like, hey, I would tell them in the beginning, hey, y'all, take this serious. You gonna need college recommendations. You gonna want job references. So I had a kid come to me his senior year. I hadn't taught him since sophomore year. But sophomore year, he was a handful. I ain't gonna lie. He was one of them kids that got on my nerves. Any teacher that says kids don't get on your nerves, stop lying. I can't even take you seriously. Now the key is to make sure that the way you treat them isn't any different, right? So I still treated him with the same amount of love and respect and care as any other kid. But you know what I'm saying? He was a knucklehead, not a malicious kid. But long story short, it was senior year and he's looking for college recommendations. And I'm not gonna lie, he came to me and he said, hey, Mr. Johnson, man, can you fill out this college recommendation for me? And man, I ain't gonna say it broke my heart, because it was like, nah, it wasn't really that deep. But I was sad that I couldn't write him the recommendation. And I said to him very honestly, very, nicely. I was like, you know what? I'm like, Vic, I haven't taught you since sophomore year. I'm like, I haven't been around you. And I'm like, so if I wrote a recommendation, it would only be based on what you did sophomore year. And I was like, I don't think you want me to do that. He was like, all right, man, thanks anyway, Mr. Johnson.
Right.
I'm like, but go check with your senior advisory teacher, or check with your practicum teacher, somebody that you spent every day with this school year. So it's not that I was hating on him or that it's like, oh, I hope it work out. It's just when you get in recommendations, you want to get the best one possible. And I'm not going to lie for you. You know what I'm saying? So
No, sir. No, that's why I tell people straight up, if you want a recommendation from me, one is going to be truthful, and two, it better be something that we did within the last 6 months, a year together, because I can't give you a recommendation if it was 2-3 years ago. I mean, I don't know what your work performance has been in that time since we no longer work together. So I just can't do that. So
exactly.
yep. So okay, so you were teaching at the high school, and so you got the job, of course, right?
Yeah.
And so you how long did you teach at the high school, and what was your experience like? When I say experience, like literally, what were you teaching them in that perspective?
Yeah, I got you. So I was at the high school for 7 years, from 2012 to 2019. Now, what's funny about it is when I was initially hired, I was hired part-time. So my very first year teaching, I was at a school called Pearl Cone Entertainment Magnet High School. Pearl Cone versus everybody. You know what time it is, Firebirds. So I was there during the day, and then I was at another high school here in Nashville, McGavick High School. I was there in the afternoons. And so yeah, so I started part-time. Now after spring break of my first year, the full-time audio teacher, he didn't even come back after spring break. So yeah, that's a whole nother
peace, I'm out.
That's a whole nother thing. But long story short, so I was promoted or elevated to full-time that second semester. But yeah, so at the high school at Pearl Cone, I was teaching audio production. That was the name of the course, audio production. And then at the other high school in the afternoon, it was an after-school program, but I was still teaching the same thing. It was a different dynamic because these are kids that chose to be here after school, as opposed to the kids I had during the day, where it was like, you have to be in school or they're going to get you for truancy, you know? So within audio production, I mean, I was teaching my kids everything from signal flow, which is basically how to identify the start and the end point of a sound source and everything it does from there, you know, so from the microphone to the converter to the interface to the EQ to the all the way, you know, it's like going in the maze all the way till it gets to your ear where you hear sound. So teaching them that, music production, I mean, obviously teaching them how to make beats, how to arrange music, how to mix music. My first couple of years, I was teaching acoustics as well. So my first couple of years, I was teaching them about absorption and diffusion in studio design. We did a lot of cool projects. One project we did actually had my students build acoustic wall. Oh, my fault. I hit my microphone. Y'all be all right, YouTube. I had my students create acoustic wall panels. Man, they loved it. Like, cause so many kids are hands-on. So man,
how come you're not teaching that now?
Bruh,
hey, look, cause I need some acoustic wall panels.
Man, you better holler at Kevin Mayfield, man. Kev, no, I came down to Atlanta and helped him build and put up the acoustic treatment in his studio.
Well, shoot, guess
he ain't even tell you that, did he?
No. I think I remember y'all talking about that. I think that's why you came down here that one time, was to help him do that.
Yeah.
But you're gonna have to come down to Atlanta to help me do that. I need to redesign my studio, so dude, I need some acoustic panels in there.
I want to get to Atlanta so bad. So it's funny you said that, or that the acoustic thing came up, because just recently I did a consultation for dope hip hop artists here in Nashville. Shout out to Mr. Adams, by the way. So he has, like, you know how some like apartment buildings have like the standalone like garages and stuff in apartment. So he got one of those. So he's like, man, I'm gonna just park in a parking spot and turn this into a studio. So, which make perfect sense to me. Like, bro, if I was living it, man. And so, so I did a consultation for him. I put together a package for him where it was like, hey, you know, you got to determine, and this is for everybody in music or whenever you're looking to acquire a product or a service. Is three qualities or three attributes you want to keep in mind, but you can only get 2 out of 3. So you need to prioritize. So it can be quality, it can be the time, like the speediness in which you get the product, or it can be cost. You can't get all 3. You're not going to get something super quick, super inexpensive, and high quality. You're not going to get it. right? So you have to choose your two. So I asked him, what two things are most important to you in a studio? Is it high quality? Is it low cost? Or is it getting it done real fast? What's most important? And so high quality and, you know what I'm saying, and saving money was the priority. So I'm like, based on that priority, you should build it yourself. It'll take you longer, but you'll save money, and you can also verify, you know, that the quality is going to be good. So so that's what I would say with you before you even kind of embark on it. Just ask yourself, what two of those three things are the most important? All right.
Right.
Because if
I know.
What are your two?
the most important. Well, I can tell you one thing that's the most freemium. I need the freemium.
Gotcha.
Yeah, freemium. Yeah.
Well, so I don't know. I personally don't know anybody that does the freemium, but
freemium brand.
I got a way for you. All right. So first of all right, this Sunday, matter of fact, in offline I'll tell you, but make sure you go on the Faders Up podcast page on Facebook, because we're interviewing a product specialist from Auralex this Sunday.
Oh, okay.
So if anybody don't know, Auralex makes a lot of bass traps and acoustic treatment. And so if you're trying to do premium, then you're going to have to start using your social currency. You know what I'm saying? So right. Imagine it's like you approach a company like Auralex and be like, look, I have this brand. We create music TV. These are our followers. This is who I work with. How can we partner together? Right? Mutually beneficial. Your benefit is you need free or very inexpensive products.
That's right.
So as long as what you can offer a company in return can justify that, I see no reason why you can't parlay your way into a situation. See, I just helped you out, man.
Look at that. And you know, so speaking of that, I mean, that's kind of really how things happen within the music industry too. Is, you know, you talked about, you know, it's not who you know, but who knows you, but it's also about those relationships and what you can kind of work out, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like kind of doing certain things with friends, you know, and then finding out you got a friend who mixes, and then you got an album that's going to be coming out soon. You're going to need to get some of them songs mixed. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and here's the thing people have to understand. There's a difference between friends and professional people that you have a good relationship with.
You got that right.
Right. So for friends, social currency doesn't mean as much, because we're friends with or without music, right?
That's right.
But professional relationships that you may be cool with, you can't abuse it. Because here's the thing. So B, what would happen if you kept withdrawing money from your bank account without putting a deposit in?
Yeah, you're gonna be bankrupt.
Yeah, you're gonna be overdraft. You're gonna be in the negative. So it's not like your account gonna disappear right away, but you're gonna be in negative. So that means you're gonna have to do more just to get back to zero. So I say that to say with social currency, and I know, you know, we'll get to the question later, but for the people that are trying to get into the industry, what I would say is first, identify your streams of social currency, right? So identify, you know, what they would call, like, identify your social currency credit lines, and then be very intentional to make sure you make consistent deposits.
That's right.
Because here's the thing. If you always withdraw, people are going to notice that. And they're going to be like, look at their phone. Oh, nah.
Yeah. They want something again. Nope.
Ignore.
Block. That's right.
Exactly. And and then another tip with social currency, when you're making withdrawals, what I would suggest is, the best as you can, always make a deposit before a withdrawal. Like a lot of times, man, it's like people come to you like, hey man, you got some, like when I meet new people at networking events, like here in Nashville, Shout out to my sister Thalia Ewan. She has I'm like plugging everybody. She has a company called Nashville Is Not Just Country Music.
Oh yeah.
And it's everything from urban music mixers to playlists to urban songwriter rounds to, you know, a lot of different things. And whenever I'm meeting new people there, one of the questions that I ask people is, "Ah, man, what you got going on and how can I support you?" Like, even if I meet them, even if I'm thinking, man, this person could change my life, I don't want to lead with that. You don't want to come off thirsty. So in me saying, how can I support you? It's not being disingenuous. No, it's being honest. It's like, hey, if I rock with you, I do want to support what you got going on. How can I support? Eventually, once you make enough deposits, it ain't no thing when you need to make a withdrawal. Like making those deposits is one of the reasons why even when I left the high school, which we didn't even kind of, I guess, fully close that story, but even when I left the high school, and unfortunately, you know, it was some negative stuff around it that I experienced, but I was able to walk away still with two pages worth of references, and I'm teaching again at a college now, but we can get to that later.
Right. Professor Louric Oshay Johnson, professor. And it was he is now a professor, folks. That's right. So salute to Professor Oshay over there.
Man, but appreciate it. I know I know
we didn't.
Man, I get hyped
No, you're good. I mean, I don't expect us to fully close out each story, but I think if anybody's watching and listening, the gems that you just dropped in there it was just tons of gems that people need to think about. And I was going to ask, what book you've been reading lately? Because the reason why, because I know part of the 7 Habits series, and I am coming out with a 7 Habits for Highly Effective Music Creators series.
I like that.
And a Networking in the Music Industry series, which touched on 2 things that you just talked about. One is, you know, making those deposits and trying to not make withdrawals. In Covey, they call it the emotional bank account. But in our world, it's pretty much like social currency, right? So, you know, the more deposits you make, the better the relationship. The more withdrawals you make, the worse the relationship. But I mean, you already talked about that. But it is examining your social currency. But I think the other part that fits into that is, and that's what my networking in the music industry thing is going to be about, is, and I think you and I were at the same one with Priscilla Renee. Did we go to that together?
The one out in LA, the ASCAP joint. Yo, tell me why I ran into Priscilla Renee.
Oh, you did?
Here in Nashville at one of the Nashville Is Not Just Country Music events.
That's awesome. But yeah, I mean, that was one of the things that she talked about, and I had learned that long ago in corporate America, is you don't always lead off about what you want, right? And I think that's our culture today. Is, yo, here's my CD, yo, check out my SoundCloud, you know, can you put me on? And it's like, well, wait a minute, that's kind of like a big turn off, because you're like, that's how you're going to enter this relationship, is just with a shove stuff down my throat approach. And people think that work, or now they just slide in your DMs and put their whole album in your Instagram.
Bruh, I just got that like literally yesterday. I got it in my DM, and he emailed me, which made me think like, bro, how did you get my email? I had to actually go back on my Instagram accounts and look at my profile. Like, nope, I didn't put my email there. Nope, I didn't put it there. So I'm like, how he got my email? I don't know.
Look, I got to reward you for at least, you know, the diligence in finding the email address.
Man, I
sure do.
Like, yeah.
So brother, we've been talking a lot about a lot of different things. So I wanted to talk about your own personal struggles and what you learned from those as well. So you can share with the audience, you know, what were some of the things that you personally struggled with, as far as music, and how did you overcome those, or what did you learn from those to help you move forward?
Struggles with music. I think one is just the time, you know. I think, you know, like they say, like overnight success is really like 12 years in the making. And so I think the time that it's taken, you know, to get to just a what I would consider a minute measure of success can be frustrating, you know. I mean, I kind of divide my time in Nashville so far into kind of like 7 years, where I feel like the first 7 years were struggle. The second 7 years is when I started teaching, which I feel like that was just success because now I'm doing what I love. I'm working with kids, and I'm still growing in my music, and you know, and my professional network is now expanding, and so all that stuff was great. But leading up to that, it was tough. So I think the time that it takes. I think the other frustration too is recognize or not being good at everything you want to be good at. Like growing up, like I was the type of person I could be good at video games without reading the instructions. I could put together some basic, you know, assemble bookcases and stuff. I don't need the instructions, you know.
Look, you don't need the instructions until you actually put it together, and then part of it's like this.
Right. But like even then, I mean, I guess the point I'm making is that I've been accustomed to being at the minimum proficient, right? So at the minimum, like, you know, like I can do this with most things. So when I come across things where it's like, oh, that's challenging. Like, for example, a big challenge for me with music creation in the beginning was music theory. I didn't know music theory. I mean, I'm talking about I didn't know any. I mean, I knew the words major scale and minor scale, but I didn't know what they meant. Right. So I had to teach myself music theory. Trying to see some other challenges. I mean, challenges, I mean, is an ongoing thing, right? Like,
You got that right.
like we do this interview in 2 weeks from now, I could have something new came up. I think now that I'm kind of where I'm at in my career, and you know, for the past year, I've kind of been doing the entrepreneurial thing, so it hasn't been, you know, a full-time job with days off and benefits and stuff. It's been like getting it out the mud, you know, whether you know, in 1 week I can do, man, I've had times in the past year where within a week I've done a couple of after school programs, studio sessions, driven for Lyft, and you know what I'm saying, and like in all that, I did it again, and all that and all that stuff adds up to cool, man. I made a living. Man, I can pay my bills this week. You know what I'm saying? Hey, we see our first comment. Donnell Walter said, hey, Rick. Hey, what's going on? Shout out to my brother. When I mentioned earlier, I was in a Christian rap group. Donnell Walter that left that comment was one of the 4 members in the rap group with me. So
Nice.
shout out to my brother. But yeah, I think the challenge recently now is just managing time management. You know, it's kind of like there are a lot of things I want to do, but especially because of COVID, bills are piling up, and it's like, what can I do that's going to make me money right now, right?
Right.
So that's one challenge, and then I think another challenge too is humbling and submitting yourself to leadership. For example, I'm in an organization you're familiar with called Writing Sessions of America. Right. Shout out to my WSA fam. So the challenge there sometimes is trusting the process, right? Because a lot of times people come into the organization with, well, this is how I always do it, you know, or if you get negative feedback on one of your songs, then you still want to run and put it out anyway, you know? So I think that's the challenge, right? Is to trust the process, you know what I'm saying, to to put value and weight in the professional opinion of somebody who's been where you haven't been yet, but also balancing that out with realizing, but you can't put your entire life value in the hands of any one person other than God.
Right. Yeah, I was going to say that because, this one person may say, "Oh man, don't put that out." And that can just be their own opinion. But somebody else can hear that same song and be like, "Oh man, this song is fire. I think you should put that out." And I think it is a balance, to really be receptive to feedback, take that feedback, learn from it, but also to really figure out, okay, what's best in this situation, for me, for my music, for my career, and to really just make that determination for yourself, because I've been in a situation where people go, prime example is Teddy Riley, right? Teddy Riley, when they came up with the whole no diggity thing, everybody in the group was like, "Nope, don't put that out." They hated it. They were like, "No."
Really?
Nope. Yes.
Wow.
They were like, "Nope." Teddy was like, "I'm telling you, this is the hit. We put this out. This is the hit. No, don't want a no diggity." I mean, can you imagine if we didn't have no diggity?
Dude,
right?
No diggity is even part of my everyday speech. Like whenever somebody says something, like if a friend of mine be like, "All right, man, I'm gonna hit you up later," or "Oh man, thanks for X, Y, and Z," I'd be like, "Oh, no diggity," because in my mind, I'm like, the next line is "no doubt."
No doubt.
So it's like that's me saying,
That's
"Oh,
right.
no doubt, no problem, no big deal." But it's funny. See, my friend Christy just sent me. She's watching it. Just sent me a text saying "no diggity." That's the bomb. And so it's funny because, as you mentioned, not putting too much weight in what other people say. People that's trying to get in the industry understand we are not saying like F what they saying. I promise you, we not saying that at all. I take B's advice. Another friend of ours, Nab, super producer. I take his advice. My man Kevin Shine, the founder and leader of Writing Sessions America. I take all that stuff in. But at the end of the day, it's kind of like you still have to make your own decision. Shout out to Genesis right now. Appreciate it. You still have to make your own decision and accept what comes as a result of it, right? So if somebody tell you not to do something and then you do it and you don't get the result you want, you can't blame them. But sometimes they might tell you not to do it, you do it, and it shocks everybody. It's like, hey, you gotta take the good with the bad. But the point I want to say before I forget, when you mentioned no diggity, and this kind of ties into what I'm teaching at the college level, which if we got time, we can get into that. But everybody knows the three numbers, even if you don't make music. All right, so here's a trivia question. A trivia question.
I'm about to fail.
What is the most popular number in hip hop music? What is the most popular number?
The most popular. I don't.
You better not get it wrong either.
Dang, that's something like, why you put me on? I'm an R&B guy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, R&B too. Most
popular number.
Honestly, my fault. I threw you off when I said hip hop. What is the most popular number in any electronic bit? Yep. My friend just texted me. She knows it.
Dang, that's because y'all probably talked about it though.
Nah, we ain't talking about it. What is the most popular number?
4.
Why 4?
I don't know. Dang.
808. 808s run.
You talking about 808s as far as like?
No, but that's the number, right? That's why it's a trivia question, bro. Anyway,
I don't know if I would get. But anyway, go ahead. And say what you're gonna say.
But I mean, it's so popular. I mean, we got groups named after it. We got albums named after it. I say that to say, when they first came out with the Roland TR 808, and I believe 1982, the year of my birth, by the way, initially it was a flop. People did not like the 808. It was like, it wasn't real drums. It sounded fake, and And fast forward, you know what I'm saying, 38 years later,
808s run the world.
808s run the world. So much so, there have been several documentaries on it. If you have Amazon Prime, there's a documentary on Amazon Prime right now called 808. Like, that's the name of it.
So
and
crazy.
I mean, and it touches on everything from Planet Rock to even some of the non-hip hop R&B music, like songs that I didn't even know. I'm like, I didn't even know like 808 made it to that genre.
You know why I said 4? Because most R&B groups have 4 members.
You know what? That's fair. That's fair. At least you were able to explain it.
Hey,
and it's not just like, man, why
that was like
say 4?
That was like the magical number of how many people you need to really have in a group, because it kind of went through the spectrum of male vocals, right? Like I'm an R&B guy. You know, I grew up as a singer, but you know, that was the magic, was 4, because you had your high, kind of alto males all the way down to your low baritone males. And so, and they all that, when you think of like Boys to Men, they all that range right there.
Yeah. Woo, yeah. Boys to Men. Man, that'll take us down another thing.
I know. So before we, I'm definitely enjoying the conversation. Rick, me and you we could just sit up here and talk.
All day.
But so I want to talk about this. There's still a couple of things I want to talk about. I want to talk about how you now became a professor.
Okay.
Right. I do want to talk about beats and bars.
For sure. Thank you.
I want to talk about faders up. Right. So you got to talk about all that.
All right, cool. Let's do it.
And this one.
So, that's fine, man. Like, set a timer or something, or just like write it down so I don't forget. All right. So real quick.
I'm not gonna forget.
All right. So real quick, how I got into, or a little bit about the teaching. So the reason why I brought up the TR 808 and how that connects to teaching now, because I am currently an adjunct professor at Belmont University here in Tennessee, which is one of the top music programs in the entire world. And I teach a course called Hip Hop Production Techniques. So we started with a cultural overview. So we've gone over everything from like DJ Kool Herc to 1520 Sedgwick Ave, where August 11th, 1973.
They don't know that. They don't know about that,
man. So I'm breaking. I'm
you gotta break it down.
That. So yes, the quote unquote official birth date of hip hop that many people consider is August 11th, 1973. The reason why it's that date is because that was the first time DJ Kool Herc, legendary hip hop figure, was throwing a back to school party for his sister. And that's when they first kind of found what's called a break beat.
The break beat.
The instrumental breakdown of a song with like the drum solo, for lack of a better phrase. And what they would do is they would, on 2 turntables, they would just keep looping that part and going back and forth to make an instrumental for the MC to talk their stuff. Yeah, y'all dance till you don't stop, whatever stuff like that. So that's what people count as the birth of hip hop. But hip hop didn't have commercial success until Rapper's Delight was released in 1978, I believe. And shout out to Black women, because like it, love it, or hate it, or whatever, as far as that song, whether it was real hip hop or not, it was produced by a Black woman. The very first hip hop song that went platinum and hit the top 40 was produced by a Black woman. So shout out to all the Black queens out there. So I'm teaching hip hop production techniques. So far we spent 2 weeks on crate digging and sampling. This past week, all about drums. So we looked at the Linn drum, the DMX drum machine, and the TR-808, which are arguably 3 of the most popular hardware drum machines. This coming week,
which by the way, I don't want to interrupt, but which by the way is how DMX got his name though.
Exactly. It's another artist or band named after that too. So yeah, matter of fact, because you may be like, how does he know all this random stuff? when I'm doing my when I'm researching and doing my
Oh yeah.
lesson plans. So the song, so the first hip hop song that people started to say, okay, that's real. That's not like popcorn or bubblegum. Was
Mm-hmm.
also produced by Sylvia Robinson, and that was 1982's "The Message." Broken
Mm-hmm.
glass everywhere. People beep on the stairs like they just don't care.
Mm-hmm.
That beat, that wasn't a sample. So before hip hop
Oh
even got
wow.
into sampling, that was made with a DMX drum machine and I think a Prophet synthesizer. Um,
Mm.
but anyway, so yeah, so if you're more interested, man, sign up for my class, go back to school. I do private lessons as
Go back to
well.
go back to school.
Um, but
He
yeah,
does
that
tutoring.
yeah, I do tutoring. But yeah,
See.
the class is a blast. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Then and this is a good segue. So you mentioned something about beats and bars. So
Right.
beats and bars is an interactive music event series that I have. Imagine kind of like those type of events like painting with a twist, where you kind of go out, you get your sip on, you enjoy some wine, you enjoy, what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying, some company, and you learn how to paint a portrait. So I thought that was really cool. But then I had the idea while I was in this artist entrepreneur training program last year. Shout out to ABC Nashville. Um, is that, I was like, man, Nashville doesn't need another producer. We don't need another studio. What can I do that's different? And I
Mm.
thought of that, and I'm like, man, what if painting with a twist wasn't painting with a twist? It was actually making music. And so that's where the idea came from. So what you can expect at a virtual or an in-person Beats and Bars event, man, live DJ. So we got the party vibes going. The libations are flowing, whether it's wine, your liquor of choice, whatever, or water,
Libations.
or water. And then I walk you through step by step how to make your own hip hop beat with
Mm.
no prior music experience needed.
Mm.
Now for my purists out there, I remember one of my co-hosts on Faders Up was like, I'm nervous about that, man, because what if here's the thing. This isn't doing anything different than what software has already done.
Right.
Now it's a difference between being a beat maker and being a producer, right? So at Beats and Bars, you're learning how to make beats. You're not really learning how to like produce a song,
Mm-hmm.
how to go in the studio, coach vocals, help write the song. You're not learning all that stuff, but in a very relaxing party-like atmosphere. You're learning a new skill, and you're having fun while you're doing it. So that's the whole focus of Beats and Bars Nashville is a party. It's to have fun, and while we're partying and having fun, we're making a beat in the process. Now, if you come out and you're like, "Oh, I had so much fun, man! I think I really like this. I want to keep doing it." Then I also have Beats and Bars Academy, right?
Uh-huh. Okay.
where I actually have a curriculum right now, Entreproducer. So not entrepreneur, Entreproducer 101, 102, and 103, which these are courses you can sign up for. So this is just the training. There's no
Are
wine.
these virtual classes?
Right now they're available virtually. So if you're in Atlanta, yes, you could sign up. Um, but I am
Nice.
looking to kind of, once COVID kind of figures out what it's going to
Man,
do, because
COVID need to leave.
the very first Beats and Bars event, the inaugural event, was on February 23rd here in Nashville, and it was
Mm.
in person, in partnership with another event called Shop Talk. Shout out to Terry with that great event. But since then, I've had to do it virtual. So you have
Yeah.
Beats and Bars Nashville for the party and an introduction to beat making. Then you got Beats and Bars Academy, where you like, hey, I want to take some classes and learn how to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Man, that's awesome. See, and I think that goes back to what you said, that we already have a gazillion producers out here, and that was, we had conversations about this, and that's what it was for me. is I'm in Atlanta, and we got a ton of producers, Grammy award-winning producers, mega producers, all the way down to I'm just trying to get started in being a producer. And here I am. I'm another producer in Atlanta, and I kind of wanted to do something different, which is what led me to create We Create Music TV, because not many people were kind of doing what we're now. I will tell you this. With COVID, everybody's now trying to do what I'm doing.
Of course.
Like everybody is now doing interviews. They weren't doing interviews at first. You know what I'm saying? Like now they're trying to figure out a way to continue their brand. But anyway.
And here's the thing you have to be vigilant about, because a lot of times, because in some ways you've been trailblazing. It's not like nobody ever did interviews before,
right.
But the way you're doing it, the time in which you're doing it, and how you're leveraging your social equity, your social currency is very good. Now, a lot of times, the people that do it first aren't always the people that are remembered, right? It's the people that have had the benefit of seeing it and then be like, oh, I'm going to do everything he didn't do and do the stuff he did do. So what you have to do, you have to, almost like a third party, you have to evaluate your own stuff as if you're looking at it for the first time, so you can still continue to remain cutting edge. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
And so, we can definitely talk offline, and
yeah, of course, always.
Yeah.
Like, shoot, we'll probably text each other when this is over.
Yeah, for sure, man. This is cool, man. I mean, once again, I'm super glad for the invite. And it's funny because this is very different, in the same field, but different from my Faders Up podcast. So you mentioned that earlier. So for the people who don't know, I am one of the 4 co-hosts on a podcast called Faders Up. It's me, it's Desiree, it's my man, super dope producer, Cadence Pat. And then we have Chris, or AKA Czar. And so Czar.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I say you can't just leave it as just. And we got Chris.
I know, yeah. Man, because sometimes, you know what? Because Desiree just recently started going by her full name. So now I'm kind of like, I don't know whose real name to say, whose industry moniker to use. But yeah, so Czar and I, myself, and Cadence know each other from a company here in Nashville called Creatives Day. And so Creatives Day used to do these artist residencies where they'd pick like 4 of the top, top artists in town.
I remember that.
Pick a couple of producers, a couple engineers, and just lock in for, what I'm saying, like a few months to produce music. And so I met Czar through that. So Czar had been kind of getting the push for a while, like, man, you need to do a podcast. Man, you need to do a podcast. And so when he finally started gearing up, I was one of the people, I was humbled and fortunate enough that he considered reaching out to me and asking me to be a part of it. So we're about 18 episodes in right now. So normally what we do, so it's 4 of us, and here's where I say it's different from We Create Music TV. We don't always do interviews. Like we've interviewed the product designer for DNA Labs Instruments that make rack extension for Reason. This Sunday we're interviewing a product specialist from Oralex. We also interviewed Jossie World, who's a singer-songwriter up in New York. Phenomenal person. So we've done those 3 interviews. But a lot of times we've had a few guest hosts, right? We've had a few guests drop in, but a lot of times we'll just have a topic.
Right.
Like we've talked about everything. Our latest episode, we talked about selling beats, leasing versus non-exclusive, all that. We've had episodes that weren't as fun and sexy, but important, talking about file management, right? We've had episodes talking about mix theory. We've had, what I'm saying? So,
honestly, yeah, that's kind of, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I love the format of We Create Music, and and of course, I gotta return the favor. We gotta have you on Faders Up podcast just to kind of talk about. I would love to hear the transition.
That's right.
How you kind of used your relationships, your experience as a producer, and then created this new platform that's still connected to producing. Like, I don't think if you never was a music creator, I don't think we would have We Create Music TV. So it's very connected, So
it's very connected. It's very connected.
Yeah, we would love to have you on, man. I'm speaking for everybody right now. We would love to have you on.
That's right. We'll definitely make it happen. So, man, what's next, man? What's next for you? What's next for you, and where can people find you?
Cool, good stuff. So far where people can find me, and I guess we can put some stuff in the show notes. Yeah, but you can find me on Instagram at It's Pronounced Oshay. You guys hype the whole thing out, kind of like a pimp named Slickback on Boondocks. So don't just put at Oshay, because you're not gonna find me. You have to put at It's Pronounced Oshay, Oshay, and then from that Instagram page, you can get the link to my website and all that stuff. See, and we'll put it in the notes as well.
See, now all I can hear is Cat Williams. I'm a pimp named Slickback. Like, that's all I can hear. See, you shouldn't even do.
Like a Tribe Called Quest. Yo, I want to go watch Boondocks right now. But
see, I'm gonna have to go watch Boondocks right now.
See, but I don't think it's on Netflix. I thought it was at one point, but I don't think it is.
Oh, but no, I got all the episodes though. So, it don't
even.
But I got them all. But I have them all though.
But and so that's how you can find me as far as what I have coming up next. So right now, I'm in the middle of a boot camp with Writing Sessions America. So we have a boot camp going on this week, kind of like a region by region competition. So I've submitted a few songs for that. So I'm waiting to hear back to see, what that is. I also have a new song with Genesis coming out soon. So I can't wait to hear what our homie Fitzgerald, aka Genesis, laid down on that hot track I sent him. And then of course I'm still going. We have like 2 more months left in a semester. So my goal, keep building with the hip hop class at Belmont University, and hopefully grow that to where, next semester I might have 2 classes or 3 classes. So, so that's the hope. Yeah, that's the hope, man. So yeah, man.
That's awesome, man. I mean, you've been blessed, brother. I mean, I know you kind of went through the 7 years of famine and then the 7 years of plenty, or even receiving more. So we always talk about it, but I always wish you the best of. I don't believe in luck, but I just wish you the best, and just in general, and you know that.
For sure, man. For sure.
For sure.
Definitely appreciate it. And if I can kind of go into our rapper mode real quick. Shout outs.
Is he gonna bust a freestyle? Is that
Nah.
Oh,
I ain't about to spit a flow. I just wanted to send a shout out. So for shout out to my Writing Sessions America fam. Such a great close knit community. Shout out to my Belmont University fam, Creatives Day fam. Shout out to my syndicate fam. Vaughan is one of 4. Shout out to my Faders Up podcast fam. Definitely, shout out to all my friends, family. Shout out to my friend Christy in Dallas, Texas, for tuning in. And
what do you think you're winning like an award?
So what?
You think you're winning an award? Is that what you're doing?
This is an award, man. I've been awarded with the honor and privilege of being with We Create Music TV. But anyway, shout out to Christy. He kind of cut your shout out off, but yeah.
My bad.
So anyway,
shout out to Christy.
Yeah, I'm done.
I was like, wait a minute. This boy, he wanted an award.
Oh, nah, never mind. I can't do that.
Oh no, go ahead.
Now go ahead. Go ahead. All right.
Go ahead.
Shout out to my eclectic fam here in Nashville, S-Rap, keep doing what you're doing, brother. If you know, you know. That's all I'm gonna say.
If you know, you know. I guess I need to know. So, put me on. Let me find out.
Yeah. We can talk. We can talk offline. That's not
All right,
officially public
Bet.
stuff.
But man, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show, brother. I appreciate you joining us virtual, right? Because this is really the first time since COVID hit that we've really gotten back into doing interviews. We've done a whole bunch of other things, but all of our interviews used to be face to face, live, right here in this studio. But now with COVID, and it's kind of even far reaching to have even more guests who may not live here in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And so I want to absolutely thank you and welcome you for being the very first virtual. Yeah, let's put that in there. Let's put that in there. The very first guest on We Create Music TV virtual, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. So appreciate it, brother. Thank you very much for being here. And once again, thank you for sharing your experience and your knowledge. So thank you very much.
No doubt. Thank you, brother.
And to all the people watching, thank you very much for tuning in. Of course, you can always catch us at www.wecreatemusic.tv. You can catch all of our interviews every Monday and every Thursday at 7 p.m. On Thursday, you can catch the live stream version, and on Monday, you can catch our recorded one that we actually do on Saturdays. But you'll get a chance to kind of see a lot more of our music creators, musical entrepreneurs right here on WeCreateMusic.tv. So once again, thank you very much for tuning in. Y'all have a great evening, morning, whatever it may be, wherever you are. And thank you once again. And we're out. Peace.
Peace.